President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Good morning, Mr. Witness Salotban. We all know you have been exhausted in providing your testimony during the last few days. However, it heading toward its conclusion for your testimony, and we appreciate your cooperation. In particular, your endeavor to respond to the questions put to you in regard to your actual experience of what you have known. And this morning you will be questioned by the defense teams after you've been asked by some judges of the bench. So please compose yourself and concentrate on the questions before you respond precisely as part of the path to ascertaining the truth. You have been asked by the parties, however, there are some uncertainties and there are contradictions in your testimony against the statement made by you with the investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges during the investigative phase. Can you reconfirm that in 1975 and 76, how many members were in the Central Committee? Can you describe their names? Response. Members of the Central Committee, and as I was not the founder and as I did not participate in their meetings, and there was no official announcement of who were the members of this committee, and for that reason I am myself is uncertain. Thank you. Before the investigators, you stated that there were about 20 members of the Central Committee. Do you still stand by that statement? Response. In reference to the statement, and as I wanted to enlighten the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges, I used the word probably, as I myself was uncertain. That was based on the work that I did at the time, and I provided that estimation. Question. Now, as you observed, are you still standing by your estimation that there were about 20 members of the Central Committee? Response, yes. Thank you. Question, what about the standing committee? How many members were they? And how many of them do you know? Response, I was also not informed of as who were the members of the standing committee. I only saw photos of their frequent meetings, and to my knowledge, there were two, namely Pol Pot and Nuon Chea. Thank you. Do you know Sun Sen? Response, yes, I do. Question, as far as you know, was he a member of the Central Committee? Response, as far as I know, I only saw the two members of this standing committee. I only saw Son Sen working once in a while with them, and as far as I can conclude, Son Sen was not a member of the standing committee. Question, what were Son Sen's responsibilities during the Democratic Cambodia regime? Response, as far as I clearly know, Son Sen was responsible for military. Thank you. Question, as far as you know, is Khieu Samphan a member of the standing committee or of the central committee? Response, if he was a member, it would be an ordinary member. Thank you. Do you mean he was an ordinary member of the Central Committee? Response, yes. Question, did you ever see Khieu Samphan lived or work with Ieng Sari, Nuon Chea and Pol Pot? Response, I saw them, but I did not know the way they worked. Question, you stated before the investigator of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges to the question that whether Khieu Samphan ever met with Ieng Sari, and you replied that they met each other because the leaders were living together, so they all knew about each other's work. Can you recall that statement? Response, yes, I can recall that statement. However, I'd like to make comment to that statement. through my understanding is that if they were working together, they were supposed to know each other's work. That is normality. However, I did not know the details or the nature of their work. Thank you, says the President. Court officer, can you project the document D369/36 on the screen? And also indicate to the witness the questions that I may refer to in my questioning to this witness. Of course, we do have that document already, and just be ready to have the document projected on the screen. Question, Mr. Salotban, do you know Office 870? Response, yes, I know that Office 870. And there were many locations where the office was located based on the situation and the war situation at the time. Question, do you mean that the Office 870 existed quite a long time ago and not during the 1975, that is after the 17th April 75? Is that correct? Response, yes. Question, what was actually the Office 870? Because 870 is just a secret code designated for that office. Response, I did not think that Office 870 was a central office or of a similar nature. It was referred to as the Office of Onka. And also the Office of the Leaders. Thank you. Question, based on the document, before 17 April 1975, the office was not yet known as Office 870. There was one office called Office 100, and only after that date there was one office called Office 870. Were the two offices 870 and Office 100 one and the same? That is, one was known before the war and one was known after the war? Response, I have never thought about that, but yes, it is likely it is the same. Thank you. Questions, what about the Onka's office, which was relocated from Ratanakiri province to a bushy area along the Stung Chinet at the border of the province? What was the numerical code of that office? Response, I cannot recall everything. However, I can recall that it was known as Office S21 and S70. What was S21 and what was S70? Response: S21 was also part of Office 870, which was located along Stung Jinet. S70, on the other hand, was a bit distant from Stung Jinet. It was to the south, and it took about 1 day walking. Question: What was the difference between these two offices, that is Office S21 and S70? In particular, the roles and the functions of those who worked at S70 and S21? Response: Office S21 was a resting area for the leaders, and S70 office was the ones that people were called for study. Thank you. Question: After 17 April 1975, where was the location of Office 870? Response: It seems that it was no longer referred to at Office 870 due to its frequent mobility. There was no major office then. If there were major meetings, they would convene meeting at S71. So it was mobile, it was not a fixed fixture. Question: Please listen to my question carefully. My question is referred to the period after 17 April 1975. And I'd like to know whether Office 870 was relocated to Phnom Penh, and if so, where was it in Phnom Penh, to your knowledge? Response: As I knew, it was located at K1 at the river front near the building block. Thank you. Can we say that Office 870 or Office K1, is it the same? Response: At that time, I only refer to it as Office K1, not 870. Thank you. Question: As far as you know, after the liberation on the 17th April 1975, that is, after the war was over, and that's the leadership took control of Phnom Penh, who was actually in charge of Office 870 or Office K1? Response: As far as I know, I myself was allowed to meet and to get instruction from Mr. Pong. So to my knowledge, Pong was the head of that office. Thank you. Question. Do you know the person by the name Sư Vasi alias Dun? Response, yes. Question. What was the role of Sư Vasi alias Dun? What was his role at Office 870 or Office K1? Response. I know that he was the Deputy Chief of Zone 304. Later, when I communicated by letters to Office K1, this K1 office was split into various other offices, and there was one office which was part of K1. It was situated along the Pasteur Road. I think it was known as K2, and that office was also mobile. So it was separated from K1. And at that office, I saw Dun there. I did not know his exact role, but I saw him was working on the distribution of logistics in that office. Question. What about Mr. Kieu Sampon? What was his role in the Angkar's office or the central office? Response. I only knew that Kieu Sampon was responsible for the front, but later when Dun disappeared, I saw him working in the place where Dun worked, but I just did not know his exact role in that distribution of logistics. Thank you. Please refer to question answer session 39 of the office D369/36. Court officer, could you assist the witness by showing him that question answer number 39 and let him examine this question and answer. Question. Mr. Witness, you have seen that question and answer session, and let me read question. What was Kieu Sampon's role in Office 870? Answer. So far as I know, he was the member of the party center. However, I have no idea when exactly he became a member of the standing committee. He was in charge of the front affairs and collecting forces. Upon having seen him during work, I assumed that Mr. Kieu Sampon was the head of Office 870, responsible for logistics as the successor of Sư Vasi alias Dun, who had been arrested earlier. Initially, when he went into the jungle, he worked in an office called the front office, not the center office. However, he was seen coming and going to the center office. Eventually, with the passage of time, he became the state presidium, and then he came to stay in the center office. That was your statement before the investigator of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges. Do you wish to make any comment to that statement? Response. The question was trying to ascertain the truth, and I myself tried to ascertain the truth as well, and I used the word I assumed. Thank you. That's why we want to know clearly, in addition to that statement, because you used the word assumed in your statement then, and now we want to know of your actual knowledge of the role of Khieu Sampon in Office 870. Response. I knew that after Dun disappeared, the work at whatever level, even if he has the role as a state presidium, he would be assigned to work by the upper echelon. So he came to assist doing that work temporarily. Thank you. During these last few days, you mentioned the word Pong quite frequently, and it seems that you knew this person clearly. What is the full name of Pong, if you know? Response. I still do not know the full name of Pong. Thank you. Do you know the person by the name Chum Sam Ao?
Witness. No, I have never known that. President. Thank you. From your observation or from your memory, what was the role of Pong at Office 870 or Angka office? Witness. As far as I know, Pong's role was to manage all ministries under the control of the center. He had the authority to manage all of them, all ministries. President. Do you think when Pong had the authorities to control all the ministries under the center? Witness. I would like to make a correction. It was not initially referred to as center office, it was referred to as Angka. I went into the jungle and I met Pong working there. It was in 1967 or probably early 1968. It was in Ratanakiri at that time. President. Now the issue at hand is that we have Duen, who was later arrested, and the one who went to work temporarily at office 870 or the Angkar office was Khieu Sampon. But at the same time, there was also Pong present at the office. You said a while ago that Pong worked since they were working in the jungle. But you did not indicate whether Pong was at a higher levels than Duen. You indicated that Duen was arrested and then Mr. Khieu Sampon came in to work temporarily at the place. And then you said also that you saw Pong. If Pong was the chief of the office, and I want to know when did he become the chief, and I'm talking between 1975 and 1979. Witness, I already said that as far as I know, the role of Pong was the chief since he was working in the jungle, and when he came to that office, he was also the chief, the president. Is it fair to say that Pong and Duen were responsible for separate offices? Since 1975, and the offices were under the control of Angkar. As you said a while ago, that there were K1 office and K2 office. But from the documents, we never heard of K2, we heard of K3. So after April 1975, is it fair to say that they were working at separate offices? Witness, at K2 office, I saw Duen when he was there, and I also saw Pong there. Both of them were there. I also saw Brother Khieu Sampon. When Duen disappeared, Brother Khieu Sampon came to replace Duen regarding management of staff. Pong was also there at that time. He was also there at K2 office. So I assumed that Pong was still the chief of office 870. President. At question answer 41 in the same document, the 369/36. Again at question and answer 41. The question did Bong ever become the head of Office 870? And you said, yes, he did. He was also the head. However, he was rather mobile, for he oversaw external affairs while Mr. Kirsanpon dealt only with internal ones. What do you think of your answer to this question? Do you want to explain it further? Witness. Yes, I would. I would like to explain it further. I did not know about this issue very clearly. I only observed when I was there. So that was based on my observations. As I said previously, Bong had the authority to control various ministries. As for Mr. Kirsanpon, he only remained within the ministry. He did not go out. President, thank you. You have said a lot. However, I do not clearly understand regarding the people who Bong took away from B1 office. It is not clear regarding the people who were kept there temporarily and those who were taken out. And those who were taken out personally by Bong, or those who were taken out by the order of Bong. Is it fair now to say that we have these two scenarios? One is that there was a group of people who were kept at the office temporarily and they were later taken out by Bong personally. And another scenario was that a group of people who were taken out on the basis of the order from Bong. Witness. Yes, it is. President. As far as you know, those people who were brought to B1 and kept there temporarily and who were later on taken away, do you know how many were there? How many people were there, based on your estimate? Witness. As I remember, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs could not recruit various staff. At their own will, either the intellectuals or the peasants. I myself did not recruit them. It was Bong who sent those people in. So it was Pang who also had the authority to take those people away. It was the rights of Pang. President, I did not ask you that question. I want to know the number of people who were brought out or taken away from the ministry. Witness. I think there were more than 20. President, thank you. Regarding the staff, the working staff at the ministry, who Pang took away or Pang ordered people to take them away, do you know the number of those people between 17 April 1975 and 6 January 1979, based on your estimate again? Witness, was about 2 or 3 people only. Are you talking about the people who came to take those people? President, I'm talking about the working staff who were ordered, or the working staff who were taken by the order of Pang or by Pang himself. How many of them? Witness, it was about 20 people. Between 15 and 20. President, thank you. During Democratic Cambodia period, did you know Security Office S21? Witness. No, I do not know. I only heard of the name. President, thank you. Did you know that Pang came to take people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or he ordered other people to take those people at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? And did you know where they were taken to? Witness, no, I did not. But I knew. Well, I asked where those people were taken to, and I was told that they were taken to help with plantation. I was told as such. President, thank you. Did you know if Jim, who was your deputy, ever took people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to Security Office S21? Witness, I knew that Jim took people out of the ministry, rather the office S21, says the witness, but I did not know where those people were taken to. President, what do you mean by Jim taking people away from office S21? Witness. Those people were taken out of B1 office, but I did not know where they were taken to. President, thank you. When Chiem took away the people out of B1 office, were those people the working staff at the office, or were they those people who were sent in by Pong? Witness. They were those people who were sent in by Pong. President. Thank you. My other question is, was Mr. Ingsri aware of that issue? Witness. Based on my observations, it was unlikely that he knew about that. Only after those people disappeared did he come to ask me where those people went to. And I told him they were taken back. That's what I told him. President, thank you. A court officer, you are now instructed to display the same document at question answer 47 and question answer 49. Could you assist him to locate the two question answers? Before the investigator, you answered to the question which reads, some witnesses stated that Chiem was the driver who drew prisoner to S21. What do you think about this? You answer that regarding this, whenever Pong issued order to anyone, he or she had to execute it. And the other question asks, do you confirm that prisoners were loaded on a truck and transported away? And you said yes. Do you wish to elaborate on your answers to question 47 and 48? No, I do not wish to elaborate any further. President, at question 49, the question reads, was Mr. Ingsri perhaps aware of this situation? And you answered, Mr. Ingsri must have been aware of this, though he could not say anything. Do you wish to elaborate on this answer of yours? Witness. I once said that sometimes he did not know. He did not know that those people were taken away. But at some other times, he came to know only after those people were taken away. So I am of the view that when people disappeared, he must have known about it. He could have asked people at the upper levels about that. So he could have known about that. But he could not say that to me, who also wanted to know about it. President, thank you. And my last question, actually you answered it already, but I want a confirmation from you. Do you know Do you know where the people who were taken away from that office went to? Either they were taken by Pang himself or by the order of Pang. Witness, I knew that Chiem took those people away. I did ask Chiem about it. That is where those people were taken to. And I said, could it be me next time? I was kidding at that time. And he said to me that he took those people out of the office and then other people came to take them from him, so he did not know about that. President, thank you. From your observation, or have you ever noticed that on behalf or in the capacity of a deputy prime minister of the regime, did Mr. Ieng Sary know about it, or well, you said that he did not know about it. What do you think about it? What do you think he felt about it? Witness, I did not know how he felt, but I can notice that he was sad. So was I. Everyone was sad. So the situation at the office was very, very sad. President, why was everyone sad just because people were taken away from one office to another office? You said yesterday that also that Mr. Ieng Sary and you were sad, were unhappy. You said yesterday that you and him were very concerned, and now you said you and he were sad. You were, but what is the difference between being concerned or afraid and being sad? What was the reason why you and Mr. Ieng Sary were sad? Witness, from my understanding, it was because about disappearance, and that happened not only at B1. It was a general situation, so it gave effects to the fear. People heard, people said that those who disappeared were shot. So people became fearful. They fear of that. President, did you ever observe that those who were taken away from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, both the staff themselves and those who were sent in by Pang, did you ever observe that those people ever came back? Witness, no, I don't think so. They never came back. President, thank you. I have no further question. Is there any judge of the bench who would like to put questions to this witness? Yes, Judge Lowen, you may proceed.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good morning, witness. Good morning to all parties. Mr. Witness, I have some initial questions with respect to your civil status. If I understand correctly what was stated over these past days of hearings, I would require some clarifications. On Monday morning, you stated that you are 67 years of age. That would mean that you were born in 1945, if my calculation is correct. When you were heard before the co-investigating judges, that you were born on the 9th of December 1951. You identified yourself as Salot Ban, alias Lot Nitya, alias Sokong. During Monday's hearing, in response to a question put to you by the co-prosecutor, you stated that you were born in 1947. Yesterday, we received notification of two documents. The first is a copy of your Cambodian identity card. This is document E-172/13/1.2. This identity card indicates the name of Seng Nita, S-E-N-G-N-I-T-H-A, and the date of birth is the 9th of December 1951. There's a second document which appears to be your military identity card. This is classified under E-172/3, or rather E-172/13.1.2, on which it is indicated your name is Su Hong, and the date of birth is simply 1951, with no month or day. So therefore, can you please tell the court your correct name? What is your correct date of birth? Thank you.
Response. In regard to my identification, there has been a mix-up in the family book, for instance. So even up to now, everything is unclear. Because from one period to another, it was rather difficult to make a proper documentation, as I lost the original documents. So I have to make a new one. And that was based on the response of the members of the family, which were rather inconsistent. That is one issue. The second issue is that my real background is that I was born in the year of a rooster, and in the month of in October, in Khmer is Kadak, at 9 o'clock on the 9th of that month, which was a Saturday. So I clearly recall the Khmer date of birth as I was told by my parents. However, later on, when the information was registered in the registrar office and that I went to school when I was 6 years old, my siblings registered my name and date of birth. And later on, when I joined the military as I wanted to maintain my wage, I then reused my real age. In regards to my name, I was known as Ban, and my grandfather's name was Salot. So then we joined and made up a name for me that is Salot Ban. And when I was living with my uncle, he also registered me another name that is Lot Tetya, not Tetha as you said. And later on, when I made the documentation for the military service, it became known as what was stated in the document.
Bien, mais je pense que nous
Very well, I think we will have to content ourselves with those explanations. I wish to return to some of the questions that have already been put to you, especially with respect to a person we've spoke about extensively. This person is called Pong. Could you please simply tell us if, or rather, whose orders Pong obeyed to?
Response: I did not know under whom Pong took the order from.
Est-ce que Pang était l'Ankar?
Was Pong Angkor?
Response: I did not consider Pong as Angkar. The word used throughout the communication, I referred to him as Comrade Pong.
Qui, d'un point de vue hiérarchique,
Who was above Pong on the hierarchy?
Response: in the hierarchy, the person above Pong, as I knew it, it was Angkar.
qui était l'Ankar?
Who was Angkor?
Response: I cannot tell you who Angkar was. However, my personal understanding through my work experience is that it is a collectivization, and it was a democratic centralism in charge of all the common responsibilities, and everyone was responsible individually, but Angkar was responsible collectively. That's what is known as Angkar, to my knowledge.
Est-ce que Pol Pot
Was Pol Pot at the head of Angkar?
Response. I do not know, but I can elaborate on this. Pol Pot was an individual within Angkar. He was one of the needles in the ocean.
Was Nunchia also one of those arrows in the ocean? Needles in the ocean, rather?
I do not know, as Nunchia is present here. I think it's better if you ask him directly.
Pour l'instant, je vous pose des questions.
For now, I will be addressing my questions to you, Mr. Witness. Let us proceed. Was Mr. Yang Sari a member of Angkar?
Response. Yes. In order to ascertain the truth, you have to ask him yourself. I only explained to you what Angkar means. Angkar, once again, is a democratic centralism. And it is a collective responsibility whereby individual has to be responsible for his or her own act.
Alors, revenons à Pang.
Getting back to Pong, do you confirm that you stated that Pong was responsible for recruiting staff at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response. I stated that staff at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were brought in by, well, were sent in by Pong. I meant that there was a group belonging to Pong who would make a clear biography of those people, and that they were appropriate for the ministry. Then they were sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Therefore, it is my understanding that Pong was the person responsible for that process. That is for the selection of people to work in the ministry.
Est-ce que vous-même, monsieur le témoin,
Mr. Witness, were you yourself recruited by Pong to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response. Yes. Pong made a biography of myself, and that I was sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
est-ce que vous confirmez avoir
Do you confirm that you stated that it was important to have a pure biography?
Response. Yes. The biography was or had to be cleaned, and that is important.
Did you pen your own biography?
Response: Yes. Clean biography would be required for the individual to write, and then my work would be monitored, that is, my past experience would be assessed. And then the third point was that if the masses would say, okay, I was appropriate for the job, then I was taken in. So it means this is also a democratic process of selection in regards to the biography.
Je voudrais qu'on passe maintenant.
Let us now move to another subject. With respect to some of the statements you made regarding your adolescence, you revealed to us that in 1966 you were arrested and you were incarcerated for 10 days prior to being released by Samdak of King Norodom Sihanouk. Do you confirm this?
Yes, I stand by that statement of mine.
Est-ce que cette libération
Was your release granted on account of the family relations with the royal palace?
Response: I myself was not even aware of the relationship with the royal palace. However, I knew that my auntie worked at the royal palace, as well as my uncle. They were the artist instructors, and they also worked at the Royal Museum. Personally, in regards to my release, it was a common release. It is not just a release for myself. I understood that at that time, students were imprisoned in dark cells. At that time, students and intellectuals who were imprisoned were requested to be released by the king. So this had nothing to do with any connection with the royal palace.
votre oncle dont vous n'êtes fait état, c'était
Your uncle, as you've just told us, is Song, and the aunt of your father is called Myak. Do you also know Ryong? Did these individuals have relations with the royal palace?
Response: my uncle's name is Salot Suong, and my aunt's name is Rương. The two of them did not have anything to do in connection to the royal palace. Their role at the royal palace was only Uncle Suong and his wife. That's the only role they had at the royal palace.
dans le document E3/91.
In document E3/91, which was previously D91/14, on page 3 of the French, ERN in English, 00 22 35 90 to 91. ERN in Khmer 00 20 40 93 to 98. You stated that following your release, you changed names, and that you were called Bian or Pat, and that you were able to survive by using the identity card of Sankum Riestre Nium. Do you confirm this?
Response: Yes, I stand by my statement. At that time, those people who were members of the Sangkum Riesnichum had to have an ID card. And in order for me to conceal my identification, that I would not be arrested by the Lunal spies, I did not have any ID card, so I asked the person whom I knew to make me this ID card so that I can travel.
Merci.
Thank you. With respect to Khan, can you please tell us if, aside from your brother Seng Litang and your wife Chu Cheng, there are other members of your family or in-laws who were employed at K1 or who occupied positions that were in close proximity to the leaders of Democratic Kampuchea?
Response: in regards to the role of my wife, Chu Cheng, she was a cook back then at K1 for a short period of time. Later on, she came to stay with me. I said for a short period of time, I mean for a period less than 1 month. But while we were at the jungle, she always cooked. But when we came to the city, she cooked for less than 1 month. Regarding my younger brother, named Li Teng, I only knew that his role was to take photographs.
Revenons maintenant à
Let's now return to some of the statements that were made at the hearing of the 24th of April, specifically with respect to Sheng Shamras Center. To your mind, sir, is there a link between the arrest of Koi Tun and the waves of purges that followed that arrest, and the transfer of Sheng Shamras under the authority of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Response: I did not know anything at all in regard to the situation connected to Koi Thun. I only knew about the transfer of Chang Chamra to be under the management of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
quel était le nom de...
What was the code name for Sheng Shamras?
Response: I cannot recall the code name. It was commonly referred to as Trang Cham Re.
Est-ce que le nom de M1
Does M1 or B60 ring a bell?
Response: no, it doesn't ring a bell.
Au cours de l'audience
Over the course of the hearing of the 24th of April, you stated that you knew that S-21 confessions had been sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. More specifically, you confirmed that you had even stated previously before the co-investigating judges that, to your knowledge, many of these things were fictitious. And this is contained in document D233/2 on page 6 in French, page 7 in English, and on Khmer ERN page 00357530. Over that same hearing, you also stated that the confessions of Khoi Thun had been read by Yang Sari during a meeting of intermediary cadres, and that everyone, including Mr. Yang Sari, became frightened. What I'd like to know is why Yang Sari read those confessions.
Response: there were confessions, and it was compiled into a rather thick book. The situation back then was that the Vietnamese were intensifying their approaching. Everyone, including those in the ministry and those residents in Phnom Penh, closely followed the situation. I did not know when that book arrived, but at that time I saw the book, and the book was read out. That was the time, not long before the arrival of the Vietnamese. During the reading of the book, I personally believed it was very unreasonable. And after the conclusion of the reading of the book, one day after, or 2 days after, there was a circular or instruction which stated about the principle for the arrest, that the arrest could only be made through the 7-level mechanism. And for that reason, I was very concerned. That's all.
Je suis désolé, mais
I'm sorry, but you have not answered my question. Why did Yang Sari read those confessions? The fact that the Vietnamese were approaching or were poised to attack Cambodia, is that the reason, or was there another reason?
Response: at that time, as I recall, he personally did not read out the confession. I think he asked Comrade female comrade so sad to read it out. He brought the book in, that is the book of the confession, but he asked a female cadre so sad to read it out.
Monsieur, est-ce que vous pouvez...
Sir, can you please tell us if Mr. Yang Sari provided any explanations following the reading of those confessions? I don't think this is something that was extraordinary. That is for the senior leaders of DK to read those confessions. Were they elaborated upon? Were they given any explanations? Do you know why this was done?
Response. As you asked me in this line of questioning, then I respond. After the read out, then he asked everybody to make the impressions. Everybody, including myself, as he asked whether we have any connection with Koi Thun. That was the meaning of the read out of the confession. So he asked us to express ourselves.
Donc, Monsieur Yang Sari a demandé
Therefore, Mr. Yang Sari asked all participants at the meeting to reveal any affiliations or links with Koi Thun. And if I've understood correctly, following that meeting, sometime later, arrests were made. Do you see a connection between the reading of these confessions and some of the indications, interpretations that were made, and the arrests that followed?
The documents that was read out in the situation that I described, that is, when the Vietnamese almost came in, those documents were only displayed or shown to show whether any other people were connected to that. If so, those people were supposed to speak out, and there would not be any problem. But as I remember at that time, no one was connected with bad issues or offenses in the military. So it was only concerned with the book. A few days later, no other people were taken away. It was only the implementation of the law or the rule that requires the 7-level mechanism.
au cours de l'audience
During the hearing of the 24th of April, you were also asked whether you yourself chaired a meeting at Srang Shamreth, during which you mentioned the arrest of Koi Thun and the fact that he was implicated as a traitor. I read through my notes taken during the hearing, and I realized that you said that you worked on psychological issues with a view to calming people's minds. And further on, you say that many people at Srang Shamreth were from the 34th zone, and that people affiliated with Koi Tuan were peasants and that they had no connection with military matters, weapons, and that they did not call for any investigation. So let me put this question to you again. Did you attend a meeting at Shrang Shamreth during which Koi Tuan's arrest was mentioned and the fact that he was implicated as a traitor?
In my capacity as giving assistance to Chang Chumre, I went to work at Chang Chumre. But during my work there, I did not see any document concerning Koi Tuan. But I heard people saying this and that Koi Tuan was arrested and he was accused of being a traitor. As one of the leaders, I was supposed to help calm down those people. So I said I was responsible for calming down those people. So I could have said that. I do not remember all of it, but this is the summary. I could have said that.
Monsieur le témoin.
Witness, according to you, at Trang Shamreth, were there only the children of peasants or other persons? I will read to you the statement by Kangek Yves, alias Deutsch, and it is his eighth answer to a question put to him. In some locations, for example, the Shrang Shamres and Bang Trabek, etc., were the centers in which the intellectuals were brought, some of whom were members of the Funk and Grunk. These people were regarded as those whose political position was not decided. They could be friends or enemies. My question to you is whether you saw members of the Funk and Grunk at Shrang Shamres.
I already said that Chang Chumres, which was under the control of Zone 304 and which was under my responsibility, there I did not see any high-ranking officials there, and whether Koi Tuan was controlling that office, I did not know.
Est-ce que Pang a procédé à des arrestations?
Did Pang arrest any persons at Shrang Shamres?
To me, I am not aware of that.
Alors, je vais donner lecture.
I will now read out to you the extract of a statement given by a witness. This is from document number D369/18, and it is a statement by witness Tot Vanari. The ERN in French is 00702953, and in English the ERN is 0010 498631. And the Khmer ERN is 00488076-94. And this is what is stated therein. And the question was, Tok Van Arif said he was detained at Shrang Shamres. And he says the following: when it was announced that Koi Tuan had been arrested, all members of the center and other people from the North Zone, as well as cadres who had worked with him, were withdrawn in turn, one after the other. Those who were pro-Koi Tuan were sent to M1 and Tok Van Arif considered M1 as Shrang Shamres. So pro-Koi Tuan persons were sent to M1, and many widows whose husbands had been arrested and combatants were also sent from B1 to M1. So, unless I am wrong, B1 is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Do you have any remarks to make in light of what I have just read out?
I would like to elaborate on this accusation as follows. For Trang Chumre, within the framework that it was transferred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as far as I know, and I know about that later on. Pong controlled that place for a short time, for a period of time, for a long period of time rather. I did not know about the arrests. When Pong handed over that place to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be under my control, there was no arrest. President, thank you very much. It is now appropriate for us to take a short break, a 20-minute break, and we resume at 11 o'clock. Court officer is now instructed to accommodate witness and his jury counsel and return them to the court at 11. Yes, defense counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors. On January 24th, January 26th, and January 30th, the trial chamber issued directives, in a sense, or rulings from the bench, stating that the parties could not refer to a statement of another witness when questioning a witness. And I'm referring to, on January 24th, in English it would be page 44 to 45, 26. On January 26th, it would be starting with page 108 all the way through 110. And again, on January 30th, it would be on page 56. Now, I've just seen Judge Laverne avail himself, appropriately so, in my opinion, to what other witnesses have said in their statements. Although it would appear that the rules that apply to the parties do not apply to the bench, or vice versa. In other words, the trial chamber is entitled to use statements to confront, yet the parties are not. And I believe it was the civil parties that attempted on one occasion, and they were objected to. So perhaps during the break, the trial chamber could consider their positions, because if I can assure the trial chamber that this morning I had to revise my own preparation because we had anticipated using certain statements, of other witnesses. However, in keeping with the trial chamber's rulings, in trying to abide by those rulings, I changed course. So we just need clear rules. And if the trial chamber is entitled to do that, what the parties are not, that's fine, as long as we are aware of what the rules are. Thank you.
President, civil party lawyers, you may proceed.
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, Mr. President, Your Honors, and everyone here present, good morning. I support the position of my learned friend of the defense. If the jurisprudence is modified, I'll be happy, as well as the other civil parties, because it is important for us to invoke documents brought in by other witnesses, including their testimonies. The only issue that arises, as far as I'm concerned today, is that if the chamber modifies the jurisprudence as Judge Laveng has done, it would be fair that all parties should question the witness according to the same rules and not only the defense. I thank you.
President, Defense Counsel for Nuon Chea, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think this is maybe the first time that the Defence lead co-counsel and the Defence agree. We would welcome a change in jurisprudence. As far as we are concerned, quod licet Jovi also licet Bovi. Thank you.
President, thank you. The Chamber notes what the parties have raised. We will extend the break times to 11:10. Counsel for Mr. Insari. Thank you, Mr. President. I will not talk about the point which has been raised by our colleagues, but I would like to forward Mr. Insari's request to waive his rights to be present in this courtroom for the remainder of today's proceedings due to his health reason, which cannot afford him to sit in this courtroom, and to follow the proceeding from a holding cell downstairs remotely. Thank you, Mr. President. President, thank you. Having heard Mr. Insari's request, which has been made through his counsel, the Chamber grants the request, which seeks permission from the Chambers to follow the proceedings from downstairs through audiovisual means for the remainder of today's proceedings. The Chamber requires that Defense Counsel submit immediately the waiver with a thumbprint or signature of the accused Insari. The AV unit is now instructed to live the proceedings to the holding cell downstairs so that the accused can follow the proceeding remotely. Security guards are now instructed to bring the accused Insari to the holding cell downstairs, where equipments are ready for him to follow the proceedings remotely. The court is now adjourned. All rise.